5, 4, 3, 2. Happy New Year.
And there we are. Welcome. We're gonna talk about what it takes to create and give a great presentation. And for those of you live video. It happens, right? So for those of you who know us, you know who we are. For those of you who don't, I'm Joe, Dr. Energy Piazza.
I am Catherine Asaro Myers, and I walk in by saying Rara is in the house.
In the house.
That's me. I'm here.
All right. So
we did a fun thing just now to give a great presentation. Okay, we have making up a whole new language.
Great presentation.
Today, what we think you should do is capture the audience and tell your name 10 minutes later and see if they hang out with you. Talk to people so that they start to relate with you and to you, and give your name at some point. You don't have to say your name the first 2 seconds. Hi, my name is Rara. You know that. It's like, oh, she's going to say the same thing again.
Yep.
Start with something a little bit different.
So there's a bonus tip already, and we're going to give you at least 5 more tips on creating and giving a great presentation. We'll talk about them a little bit more in depth. Whoop, wrong camera.
Oh, thank you.
About this one over here. So we're going to give you 5. We're going to give you 5 more tips in addition to the tip that Catherine just gave you, and we hope you can use these or start using these in your presentations, in your meetings, whether it's on Zoom or face to face. All of these strategies, all these tips, these tools work live, they work digitally, they work just in a phone conversation as well. Not all of them work in a phone conversation, but some of them do. So I think without any further ado, as they say, let's jump in.
All right, let me make one quick footnote, as they might say, Facebook footnote. As we're giving you these tips, think about how you can apply it. So if we're talking about slides, then it would be either in a room with people or in a Zoom room with people, because you might say, well, I'm not using slides, but right. You just might in a Zoom room, you might get on a one-to-one call and choose to screen share. So I want to stretch your imagination a little bit, because you might say, I don't use slides, I don't have a presentation put together, it's not what I normally do, but you may share a website. You may want to put together a couple of slides so that you could have your name in a screen share. Just a little food for thought. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Great presenters use fewer slides and fewer words. So have you ever been to PowerPoint, death by PowerPoint? Have you ever been to a presentation where you're just thinking, stop, please stop. Don't keep talking and showing me all these words, and you want me to listen. But when you're talking and you have a slide behind you, people can read faster. You can read faster than I can speak. So if I had a whole bunch of content behind me, you would be reading and I would be talking to myself. So great presenters use fewer slides and fewer words. Think about this. Reduce the clutter wherever you can.
The second tip. Great presenters don't use bullet points. In other words, don't throw a slide. If you're using slide decks, don't throw a slide up there with bullet point after bullet point. Yeah, and you can use all of the fancy, transitions of the bullet points coming in and out, but it's still words. And we want to use fewer words. If you're able to, take your points and try and find a graphic, an image, something that summarizes, maybe it won't summarize 5 or 6 bullet points, but it could summarize 2 or 3 and convey an emotion and a feeling to your audience, and they'll connect with you more. And it'll help you get your point across better, make the images relevant to your audience.
There's old habits, right? Old habits are hard to break. So think about what you used to do, and is it relevant to 2021? Great presenters enhance their vocal delivery. So I'm going to talk about and so, well, how we speak and the tone we use. How can I get you to lean in a little bit closer? I could get closer to the mic. I could use some vocal variety. I could use some technique to have you lean in and listen. Research states that effective persuaders modulate their voice. If you're reading something, try not to make it look like you're reading. I'm speaking to you without a script right now. So if I had a script and I remembered it and I was checking, you would see that. And I might lose the tone that I was initially speaking to you in. So if I'm going to tell you a story, if I'm going to share information and I say, you're not going to believe what happens. I met my husband in Eleuthera and a hummingbird came flying by. When I looked up, I thought I was being attacked by something else and he saved me. I couldn't believe it. It was that moment when I looked into his eyes that I knew that was love and that was it for me. That's an example of some voice modulation. It's a true story too.
So tip number 4, great presenters create wow moments. There was a TED Talk that Bill Gates gave. Now, whatever your opinion of Bill Gates is in our current climate, that's your opinion. However, he did a really cool wow moment at a TED Talk that he gave. He was talking about the spread of malaria and how mosquitoes spread malaria. And he said, I brought some here. And he had a little jar. And he took the jar, opened it, and let the mosquitoes loose in the auditorium. Now, where do you think the audience is going to remember from that TED Talk? They're going to remember the mosquitoes being let loose in the auditorium and how that made them feel. So whatever your niche is, whatever your topic is, discover a way to give or create a wow moment where applicable. You don't have to do it every single time. That puts in a lot of extra pressure on, but it could be a smaller wow moment. It doesn't have to be something that big, but it's again, helping you create an experience, a feeling in your audience that they will remember, because they are never going to remember every single slide, every single word that you say. There is no way, especially if it's an hour presentation or a 30-minute presentation. Nobody's going to remember everything that you said, but they're going to remember key points. And the key points that they're going to remember are where they had the key emotions and experiences.
I love the way you wow people. You have a way of moving and knowing when to jump in. I mean, not only is it innately one of your skills and your talents, you're learned as well. And when you pair those two things up, then you definitely get a wow doctor energy.
What's that saying about success is where opportunity meets preparation?
Right. Sometimes someone will say, I can't do that. You're such a natural. You can practice. You can keep practicing. You will have your style. So when you wow someone, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the wowing people. When you wow someone, you wow them your way.
Exactly.
If you don't know how, you can copy someone else. But until you develop your own, and when you find that, when you help someone else to see that they can do it too. So I'm not talking about the perspective of being the coach. I'm talking about the person who takes the instruction to say, I'm going to sing it, every little cell. I'm going to dance it, dancing joy. Someone else will watch and say, wow, how did you do that? Well, I worked with someone who allowed me to believe, or gave me the platform to believe, that I could be me, be you. And that is so important. And you can talk to us about this, off the side or however you want to. Wow people. Wow them the best way you can. I don't sing. I wouldn't do it because it's not my thing.
Right.
Number 5, don't be afraid to speak up. Great presenters rehearse. Really. Not 5 minutes before, not the night before, like, oh my gosh, I need to rehearse. No, rehearse. What time did you get up today? What time did you get ready for your first meeting? Were you prepared? Simple. For your first meeting. That's a presentation. Did you know what you were going to wear? Did you know how you were going to look? Were you sitting in the chair ready? That's rehearsing. Rehearsing is knowing how to click the button and get on Zoom. How difficult is that? I don't know. You tell me. How difficult is it with your laptop, your computer, your desktop, your phone, your iPad, your tablet? How to remember all those things. Be ready.
You got to name all the devices, right?
Right? Be ready. If you're planning to get on a meeting, I recommend you have your devices all within arm's distance. So if this one fails you, you're still there. No, I'm only talking about popping on. I'm not even talking about content. Rehearse how you show up in a room.
Yes.
Rehearse what people see. Rehearse if your video is on while you're getting ready and you look like that, or you turn your camera on when you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
And while you're not on, what's on the screen? Your name, a picture. Rehearse from the moment before someone sees your face. What does that look like? It's not only what am I going to say and who am I going to sell to? Let me see if my 60 seconds or my 10 minutes or my 15 minutes is appropriate. Not only how is my PowerPoint, how are my slides? How do you manage it? How do you cough and sneeze? What if you spill something? How do you rehearse?
Wait a minute. Oh, stop for a second there. Spill something. That's never happened.
Oh gosh, ginger, turmeric all over the place. It does. And I try to keep that cup really out of the way of my hand because I move all the time. How do you prepare? Who spills shea butter on their keyboard? I do. How do you manage that? Well, you got to know what to do.
Yep.
Just something your mother never tells you, but we will tell you before you get to your content.
Yeah.
How do you look the first 5 seconds of showing up? I didn't even get into anything else. I'll let you pick up from there, Dr.
Sure. The main thing I'd like to add to all that is just, take the time, the practice, the effort, the energy to make yourself great. If you're playing a sport, for instance, you want to get better, you got to practice. That's rehearsal. If you were a dentist and you learning how to extract a tooth, if I'm your patient, I'm going to, say, hey, did you practice? Right. Especially that's why if you go to the dental school as a patient, it takes longer because they're learning, they're practicing, they're honing their technique, and they charge you less than if you went to a professional dentist that's already graduated. Whatever your field is, we need to put in the time to be good at it. It's plain and simple. There's that story about it takes 10. Malcolm Gladwell talked about it taking 10,000 hours to be a master of anything. Whether it's 10,000 hours or 20,000 hours or 5,000 hours, I don't know. But I do know that by being a lifelong learner and always looking to improve what you're doing and who you're being within that, it's going to make a huge, huge difference.
So I want to say something about rehearsing. So we're live today. That's a different type of rehearsing than being on camera where you can edit or doing a cast like we do audio only because you can edit. And when you're live, rehearsing is you're watching me. You're watching me send messages. Yes, we're live now. Hop on here. You're watching all that.
Right.
This is what we're doing. We're engaging. So we can say, well, we're live, so we're not going to invite you. Well, we're marketing that we want you to come on and watch. Right. So what is your shtick? What is it that people will see when they see you? Rehearse and let people know what to expect. Have you ever gone, oh my gosh, I can't say it did you ever go to a meeting and watch someone and look at the top of their head the whole time after they speak? That's it. You don't see them. We're a team. We're partners. We're business partners. We are both working together to give you content, to communicate with people. There's a back end. There's administrative. There's chatting with people, inviting you. Thank you for hopping on. There's letting you know we're live in case you haven't touched on the news feed and put us as one of your favorites and then put instead of basic, always following, whatever you have to do. So in our live, you're going to watch us communicating and engaging. Now that might, and it might not work for you. But as we engage with you, we want you to know that we are live chatting with you. Like if I had a presenter talking to me while they were live, I would hop on and tell 500 friends. That's me, because I'm one of those, you know, influencers and persuaders. Like, oh my gosh, look what somebody did. Come on, hop on. They're live and they're talking to me. So rehearse how you do things. It is within my wheelhouse to say, hey, I'm live. Come on, can you hop on? Watch the replay. We're here. What are you doing? You have 5 minutes. That's my shtick. That's what I am very comfortable doing. Okay, this 10,000 hour rule. I want to just chat about that, because what does that really mean? Does it mean that until you do that, you're not an expert?
No.
Okay. You don't have to feel inadequate or not ready. But if you are, and butt negates everything, if you are working at something and you are diligent and you are consistent and you're working with your coach, with your trainer, you're working on a sport, on your business, I would recommend that you not only do what you're doing, but think about what's way out there. And if you're in your first year, think about 4 years later, how much better it's going to be. So in the 10,000 hour concept, you might be putting a lot of time in right now, but think down the road, how much better, how much more proficient you will be. I spend a whole lot of my time staying up to date and top of my education list on the things that I need to know. I do that till 12, 1, 2 in the morning. You, Dr. Energy, stay up all night long. We do that in our...
Not that often, just a few.
But you do it. We give up our sleep sometimes so that we can be performing at the very top. And sometimes we do that in the middle of the day, but that's when we're working with people. When you think about that 10,000 hour rule, think about your future and how much better you will be. You will not be doing the same thing you're doing right now. You will be doing it very differently. Know that.
It's, you know, that's the whole thing with this 10,000 hour rule. A lot of people think, I can't be an expert until I hit the 10,000 hours. But part of that 10,000 hours is continuing on and learning. And you don't just stop at 10,000 hours. Right. This is what I like about Aikido. And this is actually most martial arts. Originally, there was no different colored belts, all black, blue. It was black and white. That was it. White is a learner and black is the master. Even the masters consider themselves lifelong learners. All these other colored belts was kind of when they brought it to the West and they had people progress through, and it became, you know, a bit of a business model as well. Let's face it. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. The point is being a lifelong learner and spending the time to hone your craft is the important part. As a chiropractor, we have to do a minimum of 20 hours per year of continuing education. And 10 of those have to be structured and be related to the profession and our actual technique. And so I've applied that to everything, including this and live streaming. Right now, we're using this platform, StreamYard, to help us deliver this Facebook Live, and we'll probably still continue to use it, but we're going to bring in other resources to it, like a desktop production software. It's almost like having a TV production board on your desk, but it's on your computer instead. And so I've been practicing and playing with that before you. So I'm already using things behind the scenes before we ever bring it to this live. So that's what I want to say about that.
That's great, because you're rehearsing. So we're rehearsing. We're using something new. This is a newer platform for us, and we're rehearsing the next new platform before we get this down pat. We're onto something new. Why? Because we know that that's the best way to deliver the best message, or that's another great way to deliver another great message. Whether you think it's the best or not, for us, there's a feature. We're going to be here and give you something. The feature is we're going to connect you. We're going to mention you. We're going to talk to you and about you and benefit. Hopefully you will have something more when you left than you did before you came in to either this live or any other connection with us. But right here, you can learn how to have a presentation, how to give a presentation, Maybe you don't speak to people, but you can watch them with a different lens. You might choose your next financial advisor, your next, coach, based on what we tell you today and how that person speaks and engages with you. You might choose the next person you buy a face cream, a supplement from, who you choose as a personal trainer based on how they speak to you, with you, follow up with you, how they present and rehearse. And remember that things happen, like stuff happens in life. Like, don't worry. You lose your screen, you lose your text, you lose your content, you lose your notes. Keep a story in your head that you can always default to. So I would call that something up your sleeve, but that's in a positive connotation.
Yes. It's always remembering. And as you become more comfortable and at ease with the tools that you have, then you add something new.
I wanted to talk about when you're doing something new, when you're creating something new for yourself. Don't be afraid. Don't be nervous or anxious about, I need to know it before or until I. So if that's how you roll, because that's your conation, get with us. We could hold your hand, walk you through it, give you a push, decides what you need. If you decide, we'll decide together what you need. But I recommend that you don't watch the water boil on the stove. Do something else, come back to it, it's going to boil. Put a cake in the oven, put your chicken in the oven, whatever, you put your vegetables, and when the timer rings, go back to it. Don't waste your time hanging out in the same place, expecting that that one thing is the only thing you need to do before you do the next thing. Because part of rehearsal, part of the 10,000 hours, part of becoming better at what we do is doing. And if you do it and it doesn't look exactly like you want it to, nobody else knows that but you. I don't hear you, Dr. Energy.
See, again, making a mistake. Just like I just put it in the comments. Don't worry about making a mistake, because your audience wants you to succeed. They're going to be there pulling with you. And if you make a mistake, they'll forgive it.
But put the time in to make yourself great.
Right.
And don't think you're ever too great. Be humble.
Yes.
Continue. Don't think, hey, I'm great enough. I'm not trying to knock you down. I'm just saying you are great. Yes, you are. Muhammad Ali says it. I am the greatest. Keep going. This man did not stop.
Exactly.
So you don't want to think you're great and then say, well, I'm so cool. That's it. I don't have to do anything else. I would encourage you to look forward and speak to someone who has experience with continuing. When you can't see the light anymore in the tunnel, someone else, talk to us. We'll find it for you.
I hope that we've given you good value for your time spent with us, and you can always come back and rewatch this video as well and go over the tips again.
Dr. Energy, it's always a pleasure.
Ciao, everybody.
Bye.